Hi everybody, Jonathan Risto here, and thanks for joining me for another Metrics Monday. Now today we're going to talk to you about coverage. Yes, coverage is a very important metric for us to be looking at as part of our vulnerability management programs. What is it trying to tell us? Really, it's trying to help identify where are the blind spots inside the organization. We want to make sure that we have all of the assets, all of the categories of assets, all the classes, all the different divisions actually being scanned by our vulnerability scanners. If we don't have that, we have blind spots, and this metric helps us identify those blind spots. Now, how do you calculate coverage? Now here you can see we have the formula for coverage. And how you calculate that? It's fairly simple. You take the scanned assets that you have divided by the total assets that are in that category. And then you make sure that you make it into a percentage, multiply it by 100, and I'd argue put a couple decimal places in there as well. Now, taking a look at coverage, there definitely are benefits from us being able to scan and measure this inside our environments. First one really is helping us understand what is the visibility inside the organization. Are we actually doing a good job at vulnerability management? Can we see what is going on and do proper risk analysis, which ties into some of the decision making that we have to do in the organization as well. I'll pick on prioritization. Are we actually going to be taking a look at the important items? If we don't have great coverage, are we really spending the time, effort, and energy on problems that we should be? Knowing that you have a high coverage inside the environment is going to ensure that you're actually working on the things that matter to your organization. Another example of why we'd want to do coverage, we would actually be mandated to show that we have a thorough and comprehensive vulnerability management program from some of the regulatory frameworks, guidances that are out there, or even the regulatory bodies. So coverage is one of the ways that we can help identify that, yeah, we are doing a comprehensive program because we are scanning and have coverage on 95% of the assets, let's say, inside the environment. So there are some good reasons why we should be dealing with coverage, and those were just a few. Now I know we have some challenges related to trying to figure out coverage as well. The biggest one probably is dealing with that asset inventory. Yeah, the bane of our existence. But we do need to do it. We need to understand and take the data that we have available to us from the inventory, work with it in order to be able to calculate the coverage. It might help highlight and potentially give you some business justifications as well inside the organization of why there should be a more comprehensive asset inventory program in place, because we can't highlight and demonstrate where we actually have the challenges in the organization. Some other challenges we may have, maybe with the tools that we have. Maybe we actually can't scan some of that new technology that we're rapidly adopting inside our organizations because the technology we have just can't keep up with it, doesn't have the features capability. Or pick on cloud services that, yeah, well, maybe we just can't scan that without a specialized tool. Or if you want to go into the application space as we continue to adopt new programming languages, yeah, that actually does require changes to our static analysis tools that we're using. So all of those are challenges that come to mind related to dealing with coverage, but it still is very important for us to actually measure inside our environments. Now let's take a look at some examples here. Now here in this example I've just put together inside a quick spreadsheet here, showing us some of the classic example of how we deal with coverage, or how we're seeing coverage getting presented from a lot of our tools. This here, we're showing some information coming up from the asset inventory, and I've got, 213,000 and change assets inside the environment that's inside my inventory. And I can see that the scanner has found 195,000 and change of those assets, giving me a coverage of 91.44%. That, most organizations, that's actually doing really well. Getting across the entire organization, we'd be happy with that number. But I'd argue there's probably more that we can do with the coverage itself and being able to determine things. So I'm just going to open up a few extra columns here just to show you some extra examples on the coverage here. Let's flip over to take a look at it from distinct applications that we have inside the environment. So here I've just put together a simple example for us of, hey, I've got 73 different software applications inside the environment, but my scanners are only able to take a look at 65. Maybe it is because they're custom apps. We know we can't scan those except for the common front-end problems. Or maybe it's just technology that I don't have the capability to take a look at here. I still have pretty good coverage. I'm coming in at 89% here, but it's telling a different story for us about the environment. Sure, we can see we had 200,000 assets in the first example, or sorry, 20,000 assets that we couldn't see. Here we're seeing I've got 8 distinct applications that I have no visibility in, giving me better granularity. I myself might even want to highlight out which of those applications I don't have the visibility in, because then we can start to even see further on the risk. Now another example of what we can do with coverage, I'm just going to open up some more cells here just to show us out another example. Here, say we're looking at it from a programming perspective inside the organization. We have 12 different programming languages that are used in all the applications where we're doing development. Great. And we can see we've got the DAS scanner coverage. That's able to cover all 12 of them. Not surprising, because the dynamic application security testing tools that we have are testing it in the running state, looking normally at like the web front end that's exposed, might be looking at the SIP application exposed front end, lots of those common components, but it doesn't care about what the language is on the back end. But when you flip over and take a look at it, the static analysis tools that we have, we can see I only have coverage here of 41% of the programming languages that we're using. 5 out of those 12. 2 different stories being told for us here with coverage, but again, highlighting where we may have some gaps, where we have risk that we're not able to actually identify. Now, one more example for us here, just to highlight yet another way we could leverage the coverage metric itself. Here we have it, I'm looking at it from a cloud services perspective. So, let's say inside the organization, I'm using 27 distinct services across the different cloud providers. Doesn't matter what they are. But as we know, cloud services, a lot of them require very specific tooling to be able to check them, if I'm even going to be able to check them at all. So here in this example, my scanning technology, I'm only able to look at 17 of those 27, which is giving me a coverage at 62.96%. Not the greatest for us inside our environment. Now another example I have, I'm just going to flip over to the next sheet here inside my tool or inside Excel. And what we have here, we're back to where we see those inventory numbers at the top, but I'm actually going to do some better breakup of the tool itself just to see what's going on. And here is an example. I'm breaking them up in different classes of the groups inside the organization, maybe the divisions, let's say. And so I have sales, finance, engineering, executives, the admins, as well as manufacturing assets. And you can see you've got a wide variety of coverage going on. Some of them are at 90, 79, 65 on the exec axis. Ooh, oh my goodness, 104%. We got some problems here we need to take a look at. In the manufacturing assets, we're sitting at 74%. Now my coverage at 80%, the larger number, really doesn't help me find these kind of challenges. And what you can even do here, most of you are probably familiar, but I like to really make it obvious for myself if I'm running any kind of tooling. I want to see information. So all I've done here is just some conditional formatting inside the spreadsheet, but it quickly highlights items out. Inside my tooling, I'd want to set it up for alerts. For me personally, anything that's non-conforming, send me the report about that. Or if I've got the weird and bizarre, like those admin assets, why am I at 104% coverage? Something is wonky here. We need to take a look at it. So just again, highlighting how we can get deeper into understanding what's going on inside the organization when we are taking a look at coverage. Now the last example I'm going to show you here, I'm just going to flip over to the other tab inside the spreadsheet. Let's take a look here. And what this is, we're back to the software application side. Again, we said we had 73, could find 65, which gave us that 89% coverage, which is pretty good. Now, I want to dive into a little bit deeper. Again, going more into the data, breaking it apart into more meaningful packages and pieces of information. So we've broken it up just into three classes of the applications. Desktop applications, our server applications, and then platform as a service offering applications. So we can see our desktop and servers, I'm great. I've got complete coverage here, no problem. But, those PaaS applications, I can only scan 3 of the 11 that we have inside our environment. Now, there could be lots of reasons why we can't deal with PaaS applications. Could be the permissions aspect. We might not have the tooling for it. Lots of reasons we don't want to get into here, and we're not going to. But you can highlight and see from 89% where things seem quite nice, we're not seeing a major problem, through to I'm actually doing really well on desktop and servers, but our platform as a service offerings, we're challenged for how we're dealing here, identifying and highlighting to us that, yeah, we've got a problem inside the environment with this class of assets related to the software. So there you have it, folks. Coverage. Hopefully I've been able to identify and highlight to you why this is such an important metric for us to have in our environments, and ways we could actually dissect this deeper than just the high-level enterprise view of coverage itself. I'm Jonathan Risto. Thanks for joining me today, and hope to see you next week for another new Metrics Monday edition. Have a great day.